How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I need to explain why you have to buy cryptocurrency and some of these really quality stocks now and over the coming couple weeks because there's something that's happening right now. I think a lot of people don't notice, and it pretty much historically has guaranteed that we will not go lower from here over the rest of the year and into next year. So I'll explain that a little bit better, but I want to be clear. I am buying stocks, I'm buying crypto, and I feel pretty strongly that the market will turn around over the next 6, 7 months. And it could happen earlier, it could happen later. The market always wants to price in events early, but I think we're going to hit that inflection point, and I'll explain exactly why, looking at history for cryptocurrency. And then I'm also going to explain to you why I'm buying the 3 companies really heavily that I'm buying right now. And one rule that I've been kind of using to influence my decisions, and it's not valuation based. I think the 3 companies I'm buying are really well valued right now, but it's something maybe more important than that. So if you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribe button, I really appreciate that. It helps out the channel a lot. There's also a link to Bybit underneath the video. I am partnered with them now, and I'll leave it as a top link. They have so many different ways of making money. You can get over $1,000 when you start depositing. You sign up and you try out. You can do a couple different things on their platform to earn money. They also have stuff like this, like the race to the next level, be a squad leader, like different things all the time for millions of USDT. They have a bunch of different ways of using their platform, from just buying crypto on spot to derivatives, NFT marketplace, Bybit Earn. You can just buy crypto and options. I am always very careful, and I personally am only buying spot. I'm just holding Bitcoin. This is decentralized more than a lot of the other platforms as well. They have a lot of security in what I've seen so far, where they have 2-factor authentication and a lot of ways to help protect you. So there is a link underneath the video. Of course, always do your due diligence. Make sure that you're comfortable with the platform. Maybe just try it out. It's not available to people in the US, but some people get around this by using a VPN. I'm just going to say that. And again, you can use that link underneath the video to get some extra bonuses when you start depositing. Now, Bitcoin is down a little bit on the day, down 1%. We went through some data this morning showing the liquidations for Bitcoin. Now, this is kind of odd because the crypto market's down about 2% and the stock market was up a lot. This was a risk on day in the stock market. The NASDAQ was about up 2.7%, and this was like one of those days where so many investors and big investors are moving money from really safe stocks into higher risk stocks. Like, look at what is up today and how much it's up. Microvision, Workhorse, Volta, Archer Aviation, Redfin, Lilium, STEM, ChargePoint, LifeMD, Fubo, Bakkt Holdings. These are companies that no one wanted to touch for the most part over the last couple months, and they're all up double digits, some up 17%. And sure, some good companies were up as well too. Some less risky, profitable companies were up, but they were up a lot less, like Google up 3%, Amazon up 3%, Walt Disney up 1.5%. So this is just one of those really weird days where crypto is completely uncorrelated with the stock market, right? Bitcoin's down a little bit while so many tech stocks are raging. Now, this can be frustrating for a lot of people because it seems like we've been correlated so much to the downside, and now Bitcoin's not moving to the upside. Now, with that being said, it is a little bit easier to value stocks, but still, we had some bad news coming from payroll today. We had some bad news coming from JP Morgan saying that we're in for a hurricane of economic downturn yesterday. We had Microsoft say that they weren't going to hit fourth quarter expectations. We've had other companies like Snapchat say the same thing, that they're not going to hit this quarter's expectations. So it can be really frustrating, and I understand that. It's really frustrating when the markets don't move to the upside in the same way, right? But I think there's something you have to pay attention to with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is kind of its own beast. Crypto is its own beast. In the bear markets, they're not going to be correlated as much with the stock market. And I think we are in a bear market, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be investing. And let me explain why. If we go over and take a look at some of the large companies right now. They're hurting. Like being on this side of the screen from you, I know what certain exchanges are doing and how much they're trying to market, if they're seeing people actually come in, and they're not. You can see Gemini just cut staff by 10%, blaming crypto winter. We also have VC investments that are declining in May, about 38%, still billions of dollars flowing in. But all that is showing that we are kind of in that bear market. But this is why you want to invest. Take a look at the annual lows going back 10 years ago. $4, $65, $200, $185, $360. So you can see they're going up over time. What's interesting though is, even over the last couple of years too, what's interesting is if you look at any 2-year span, the lows never have gotten lower. So if you start here, 2014, 200 is greater than $4, 185 greater than 65, 365 better than 200, about 780 higher than 185, and you can go through all of these. Every single year, the lows are significantly higher 2 years in the future. Now what's interesting is we've already hit a lower low this year, which is only the second time this has ever happened. Like if you go through every year, the lows are higher, except for right here, 2014, 2015. And then also what we just experienced with Bitcoin going under about 26,000. It was under 26, it hit 25 something. So that's the second time that's ever happened. But if you look and you think, okay, where are we going to be at the end of the year going into next year? Well, unless we break the cycle completely, we've got to be over this 28,700 mark by the end of the year. So even if we dip further from here, of course this can always change, but historically we've never been lower, and there's barely been any times where we were even close. Like this is a 30% difference, and I think back here we were close one other time as well. It's 365 compared to 200, which is still almost double. So you would think even if we just get a 30% higher closing price, we're looking at mid-30s by next year at the beginning of the year. Meaning we basically come out of the bear market. We've been bearish now. If you don't count the second top this last year, if you don't count that as part of the bull market, because it really was just kind of a fake out, making a lot of people think we're going to all-time highs. If you count from the first peak, that means we would have been in a bear market for about a year and a half. We're getting close to the next halving cycle at that point. So I think that's very, very bullish. This is where you want to be accumulating. If you can set some kind of DCA to buy over the next 7 months, historically, we've never seen a time where we would have been lower next year than we were last year. Now, of course, this could always change, right? We have things breaking all the time. Like history is always going to break a little bit, but historically this is held true. Recently we saw history break a bit when we've had 9 weekly red candles. So this might be another sign that, hey, we have been really oversold. The RSI is really low, right? We've seen something that's never happened. We've seen a lot of fear in the market, and yet we're still at 30,000. So now I think is a good time to be accumulating. Now, with that being said, I'm not just buying crypto. I've said this a lot. I've been buying stocks as well. And 3 companies that I'm buying heavily in the order that I'm buying them heavy. So I've been buying some other ones as well, but we'll just stick to the top 3. This is the third stock on the list, the one that I've been adding to the third largest, Amazon. And I think it's very fairly valued. I'm not going to go through all the valuation, but the important thing with these companies is their moat. They're essentially monopolies in a couple different ways as well. When you think about Amazon, most people just think about the retail business. They've been throwing so much cash at this that they have better service than anyone else out there, right? I just ordered a package the other day. I was up at our cottage, right? I ordered it around noon and it was delivered by 8 p.m. Same day, right? And I had a few hours where I could order it and it would still be out the door. Name another company that works throughout the entire world that can give you service like that. It's almost impossible. So that's their business that most people think about. They also have advertising. They make a lot of money and it's so high margin, just recommending you products that are already good products. So They have that side of their business. They have streaming. They have content. They have their annual subscriptions. They have a really high margin business in cloud, which is really difficult to get away from, right, as a company, because cloud is so important. And it's really hard for any other company to get into that space. There are only a few companies because it takes so much money up front to do this. Same thing with their retail side, but it's so hard to start that business. So they only have a couple competitors in that way too. Amazon is a monopoly, which is great to invest in. Not so great if they were going to abuse this, but they've done really well for their users, right? They give you some of the cheapest prices out there. So I like this company a lot. If we look at the last 1 year, it's down. From its high, it's down 33%. So we have bounced a bit. We're up 21% from the low, but we're much lower than we have been recently. I mean, really go back until COVID and we're at the same price, even with the business growing so much and them using so much money to throw back at the business. Now, it might be hurt in the short term, but look a year or 2 years down the line, this is just easy money, in my opinion. Even look probably longer than that, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50 years, and it should be a really good company. Another company that I'm throwing money into is Google. Google is a little bit highly valued, a little bit higher valued than Amazon, but they have a couple monopolies themselves. I mean, go and try to search something up. It's going to go through Google most likely. Everyone likes to use Google. They have this side of their advertising business. They have YouTube, which nothing really competes with unless you think about Twitch, right? That's probably the closest equivalent. They have so many different sides of their business as well, and their cloud business is also growing quite quickly. Now, they are a cash money machine, or a cash machine. They just grow 20, 30% a year. They might have a down year because of advertising, but they're so safe, in my opinion, compared to a lot of other companies, and they have really a great moat, in my opinion. And then the company that I've been investing the most money in is Tesla. Tesla, a lot of people think, is overvalued, but when you compare their growth, right, they're growing 50 to 60% a year. When you compare that compared to the price to earnings ratio, it actually makes sense to buy them. When you look at their forward price to earnings, because this is last year's, right, they're growing so quickly, right, they might have about $12 of earnings per share. And when you compare that to their price right now, that gives them, a 60 or 65 price to earnings ratio. Divide that by how much they're growing, and you get about a 1 to 1.5 PEG ratio, which is price to earnings divided by growth. So that is much, much lower than a lot of companies, showing that for how much they're growing and how quickly they're growing, they're actually a decent value. And a lot of people don't take a look at that. The fact is, too, that everyone is going to be going to electric vehicles over time. I think a lot of companies that don't embrace electric vehicles will die off, and Tesla is so far ahead in technology. They already have such a great reputation as well in terms of purchasing an electric vehicle, and they don't have to run any advertising. They're at higher margins than a bunch of these other companies that are just producing cars that won't actually help them in the long term because they're gas-powered cars. And I think Tesla will continue to grow. And even though they're small, right, they're not producing that many vehicles, they have a really high demand. They're growing really quickly, and they're already making such better margins than every other car company out there. With that being said, they also have the best CEO in terms of growing a company. He's built several multi-billion-dollar companies, multi-hundred-billion-dollar companies as well. When you think PayPal, Tesla, and then also SpaceX. So it's crazy the kind of leadership. He's the best CEO in the world, in my opinion. And some people think he gets distracted, but I think that's just FUD, right? He spends very little time on other things outside of Tesla. Tesla takes up the majority of his time. Now, let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. I still think it's a great time to be buying Bitcoin. We could always fall further. We could be uncorrelated. We could fall and have these capitulation drops down further. But I guarantee you, anyone that bought, a couple years ago back here is not worried that they didn't buy here. 9,000 versus 7,500. Or anyone that's buying back here, is probably not pissed that they were buying at 1,500 instead of 1,000, right? This is all not going to matter in the long term. You're just going to wish you had bought more Bitcoin, assuming we get to the place that many of us think we're going to go, up in the $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 range over the coming years. We're all going to wish we had just been plowing money into crypto and into Bitcoin specifically. Now, again, check out the link underneath the video to buy Bit, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.